Cleo Abram is quite popular for using dynamic motion graphics on her video. Today I'll show you how to make this particular animation sequence in Adobe After Effects. At description you can have project file link, and right bottom on the screen you can see the keyboard shortcut I'm using in this project. Make sure you watch till the end because I will show you some techniques step by step which really level up your animation technique. Let's start by creating a new composition. I'll choose this preset for size of the sequence, and I'll change the duration of this video to 12 seconds. I'll drag a picture of mammoth fossil right here, and I'll select rectangle tool and make a mask over this picture just like this. Now I will duplicate this picture by pressing Ctrl D and apply a fill effect over it. There is it, and scale it up a little bit, and I'll change this fill color to white. I will delink it and expand its height a little bit. Now I'm going to select both of this layer and make a pre-comp by pressing Ctrl Shift C and rename it to fossil. I will hide this pre-comp and I'm going to select this pen tool and make a podium just like this. I'll toggle off the stroke of this layer. I'll zoom it up a little bit. By dragging this point, I'll readjust the shape a little bit. Now I will apply a gradient effect over this layer and gradient ramp. I'll select gradient ramp from here and I will adjust the value like this. I'll change this black to this color and I will select this white to like this color. Now I will make another shape layer by doing this. I'll drag this layer right here and I'll apply and I'll copy this gradient ramp and apply it here also, and I'll swipe the color. Now I'm going to adjust the shape of this layer and I'll also adjust the shape for this layer also. I'll do some further adjustment for this layer. Here is our final podium. I like to do a little bit color adjustment for the top of this layer. I'll make it a little bit light by this, and I'll select this tool layer and make a pre-comp part, and I'll turn on this layer and drag it right here and I'll select this layer and scale it down a little bit and drag down this podium a little bit and scale it up. Here is it. Now I'll duplicate this layer and select this layer also and make a pre-comp, and I'll rename it to layer 1. Now I'll drag this mammoth picture here and I'll hide this layer 1. I'll also drag this mammoth picture right here and scale it down a little bit, and I'll drop it down to behind this mammoth. I'll need to further scale down it and I'll reposition it right here. I'll transform it to horizontal and scale it down to 80 like this, and I'll reposition it a little bit. Here's our background for mammoth. I'll select all of this layer and make another pre-comp and name it to layer 2. I'll double click in this layer and get in. I'll zoom in a little bit. I will toggle transparency grid. Now I'm going to add a simple choker effect over this layer. I'll double click it. And the purpose of it to reducing the black border over on this mammoth. Now it's look clean. Now I'm gonna make an animation on this mammoth. I'll drag it right here so that our animation is not start right away. I'll select this puppet pen tool and give some keyframes. And here's the last one. I'll hit U to see all the changes we have been done in this layer. I'll bring this cursor right over here and I'll select this puppet pin and move it right here. And here's our animation. And I'll leave all of this keyframe as it is. Now I'll add an expression on this keyframe. Alt and click it. Here is the loop out expression. I'll select ping pong and hit enter. Here is it. Here is our animation. I'll make this keyframe easy by pressing F9, and I'll go to graph editor and select this keyframe little bit in. I'll drag it in. Now it'll start slow, then fast, then slow down. I'll select these two layer and I'll bring it to little bit center right in this position, and I'll leave it as it is. Now I'm going to turn on this layer also, and I'll reposition these two layer like this. I'll also add a background layer in this composition. Here's our background. I'll scale it down a little bit. Now I'll drag a picture of a syringe. Here is it. I'll make couple of masks from this syringe. Here's our first mask, and I'll make duplicate of this syringe, and I'll delete this mask. I'll make another mask for this one, and here is the needle mask. Now I will pre-compare again here for syringe. Yes, you are. I'll scale it down a little bit. Now I will adjust its position just like this, and here is our needle. Now I'll zoom a little bit, and I will add a shape layer on this syringe just like this, and I'll change its color to green. Here it is. Now I'll duplicate this layer and trackmate this layer with this one. If you don't have this trackmate option, just toggle on this option. Okay, now I'll zoom it a little bit and hit B for adjusting position value. Here's our first keyframe. I'll add another keyframe on this injection handle. I'll hit P for position and make a keyframe, and I'll drag this cursor right over here and change this position value to right here. Also change this shape's position also. I'll drag it to right here so it finished. I'll also drag this handle to right here. Here is our animation. Now it's quite smooth. It's functioning. I'll make it little bit fast by dragging it here. Now it's a little bit fast. Now I'll drag this layer right behind the main body of this syringe. Now I will bring this injection body right at the top, and I'll change its mode to multiply. Now everything looks much better. I'll also use a graph editor for make this animation more dynamic by selecting this, and I'll drag it just like this. Not that fast. I'll make it a little bit slow. If you are not seeing this option right here, then just click right here and enable this option, and I'll go back to our main composition. Now I'll add a camera in this sequence. I'll stay with default values, and I'll select all of this layer and make it 3D. I'll enable another view. Here is our active camera. This will be the render view, and I'll make it top on the top view of camera. Now I will open up camera settings, drag this one right here, and select this camera and make a keyframe. Now select this Z value, the blue one, and I'll select this camera. I'll zoom it a little bit and make keyframes, and at this point I'll drag it little bit out just like this, and I'll ease it and make it a little bit fast just like this. Now I will turn off syringe and I'll hit U to see the option will have been adjusted. Now I'll make another keyframe stay with previous values. Now I'm going to a little bit right side by doing this. At this point I'll apply some keyframe on layer 1 and layer 2 also. It will be a position keyframe. I'll select this keyframe. I'll drag it right here, and I'll move this layer 1 right here. And I'll also drag this layer right over here. Now I'll select all of this layer and ease it. Now I'll select this background and I'll scale it up a little bit and reposition it also. And here is our primary animation. Now I will animate the syringe and I'll rotate it a little bit. I'll also scale it down a little bit and I'll zoom in so that I can see better. I'll rotate it right at this position, and and scale it down. I'll reposition it right here, and I'll get into the settings program, and I'll toggle it. And now I'm going to copy these keyframes by pressing Ctrl C and paste it right at this position. Select these values, and I'll paste it right here. Position keyframe right here, and I'll make another position keyframe. I'll drag it uh, out of the scene. I can drag this layer further a little bit right side, and I'm going to select this keyframe and I'm going to drag it here. Now this is empty and it's extracting DNA. Now at this point, I'll select these keyframes and I'll drag it right here. And now I'm also add another keyframe for this current position. I'll not change it here now. I'll add a keyframe on orientation right here. I'll hit you, then at this position I'll drag it here and I'll change its rotation just like this. Now easy is it. Now also readjust the injection keyframes also. Now I'll select this in and bring it right here. I want to start mammoth animation after the finishing of the injection. Now I'll select all of this puppet tool animation keyframe and I'll bring it right here. I'll also like to add a mammoth revealing animation here. I'll make a couple of copies of this mammoth. I'll select it and these are two copies, and I'll select this one and I'll add a fill effect over this layer and change its color to gray, and I'll change its opacity to 84%. Here where it is, I want to lower it a little bit. I'll lower it to 50%. Now I'll make a shape layer right over here. I will drag this layer to the shape layer. Now I'm applying some position values over this shape layer. Here would be our first position, and I'll also apply another shape layer right over here. I'll add an effect just called turbulence noise. I'll select rocky, then I'll go for block. Now I'll parent it to this layer and I'll make another keyframe at this point. I'll drag this position value right here. Now I'm applying some opacity by pressing T. I'll access opacity. I'll make a keyframe here and I'll go here and make it to 0. I'll drag it right over here. It's charged. It is 100% still here, and right over here I'll make it 0 again. Now let's go back to here. I need to further adjustment some values at this point. At this point all of this animation will start. I'll hit U and I'll drag all of these values right over here. I'll select these layers and I'll apply easy ease on this layer and I'll drag it further inside. It will be better if I reduce its opacity right here a little bit, not that much. Now I want to attach a hand on this syringe. I need to readjust syringe composition size. I'll go back here and I'll change its height, and this one will look good. Now I'll drag a hand here right over here and I'll rotate it a little bit so that, and I'll drag this layer at the bottom to rotate it further a little bit. It will be our start. Now I'll apply some puppet pen. This is our first, this is second, and here is a third one. And I'll hit U to visualize the keyframe. Now I'll drag this one right over here and I'll make another keyframe here and I'll copy this keyframe right over here. Now I'll select this keyframe and I'll ease it and I'll adjust it to its syringe handle speed. I'll readjust this keyframe through graph editor. I'm going here. I'll readjust it a little bit. Now it's look good. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer and I'll drag it right over here and I'll delete all of these keyframes by doing this. Now I'm going to make a mask over this this picture. I'll adjust this mask a little bit and increase its feather. Now I'll make another keyframe here and I'll finally drag it from the scene. Maybe it will look better if it stay here. I'll bring it a little bit inside, maybe right at this position.